Hey, welcome back to another video. In this video I want to discuss how we get stuck in the beginning parts of this, and how even if we can see what is reality and what's right in front of us, we oftentimes can't see it. I know that might sound a little weird, but just bear with me on this, because I think that this is something that can be helpful for you. And also, if you have somebody that's in your support system who doesn't understand some of this, you might want to consider sharing this video with them, because maybe it might give them some insight on what you're going through. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is how I constantly get comments and emails from people who are basically in the same spot. Early on in this, when the discard happens, you get really just completely confused and overwhelmed on what happened, and you can't understand it. What I've seen time and time again with people I've spoken to either directly or via email or comments is they can articulate the negative parts of the relationship. They're aware of it. You're probably aware of it. You're aware of how you were devalued. You're aware how you were treated, how your boundaries weren't respected, or maybe you didn't even have any boundaries at all. But what I constantly see are people who can say this, but they're still really attached to their ex. They can't let it go. They cannot see the why on why this has happened. I get it. I was the same way. When I separated, even though it was my decision to leave, I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand the backlash that was happening. I couldn't understand the smear campaign and the manipulation of the truth and taking things out of context to support an agenda that I didn't even understand. The problem with this is in that moment, when we're in that early part of this, we still are not able to see clearly what has happened and how we actually arrived at this point. Part of it is you get so connected to this person via trauma bond, and you just can't wrap your head around why somebody who more than likely had a troubled past before they met you, more than likely the person that you were with told you about their past bad relationships, how they were devalued, how they were disregarded, how they were ignored, all those different type of things that they told you about, and you've worked really, really hard to make sure that you did none of those things. You were the best person for them that you could be. You probably weren't the best person for yourself, but that's a completely different story and an entirely different video. So then you roll into the situation to where you've been discarded and the relationship has fallen apart, and you're left shell-shocked, confused, and just dismayed at what happened. You don't understand it. You're like, how can this have happened? I was there for them. I would have done anything for them. How can this be happening? I've had this conversation with a bunch of different people where they can tell me how badly their ex, had treated them, and how much they tried to be the person that their ex said that they always wanted, and it meant nothing. Well, the sad reality is that you did mean nothing to them. They are not able to reciprocate that love, and it's all about their issue. Most of the time, this all comes up from deep childhood trauma that they've experienced. To be perfectly honest, the reason we're in this mess has a lot to do with that as well. Most of the time. Not always, but most of the time. My situation, I was primed for this at an early age. So you get into this mode where you think that if I treat this person the way they always wanted to be treated, they will love me. They won't reject me. They will be there for me, and I will be there for them, and we will be this team against the world. Oftentimes, you're just trying to deal with your past rejection from your parents, and you want to find somebody that you can really bond with. So you want it really badly. I get it. I wanted it really badly too. That's what kept me in for so long. But the reality is this person cannot deal in an environment without chaos. If you make things calm and stable for them, they will bring chaos into it. They will project issues into it. Part of the reason that is somebody who is in this state cannot handle the idle time, because it allows them to start thinking about their situation, their past trauma, their past hurt. If they keep themselves busy creating chaos for everyone else around them, then they don't have to think about it. Then they're always the victim to someone else. You're causing the problem. You're not attentive. You didn't do X, Y, Z. You didn't take the dishes out. You didn't go pick up the milk. You didn't, whatever it is. The sad reality is no matter what you do, it's not enough. You could do absolutely everything that they want, and it's not enough. So what happens is you get in this situation to where you've been rejected, been discarded, ghosted, silent treatment, whatever the case may be, and you are left completely shocked and dismayed as to how this could even happen. Again, what I was talking about earlier is I can have these conversations with people and they will enumerate all the toxic traits of their ex. Oh, I know that the person treated me badly and I was never good enough for them, but why won't they love me? They're incapable of providing that. And if you make the environment too perfect for them and they lose control of being able to create chaos, more than likely you'll get cast out and they'll move on to a different target. And they'll make you the latest round of victims in the thing. That's the other thing that's really tough for us, because we're not the abusive type. We didn't do those things, and we know, and this is the hard part that I had to struggle with too, we know that we are now just the latest person in their story that was abusive to them. And we don't want to do, and we know that's not us, and we don't think it's fair, and we don't want to be described like that. The thing is there's nothing you're ever going to be able to do to bring that person back in. If you do allow them back in, or if they hoover back and you bring them back in, the abuse will ramp up and it will be worse. Because when somebody treats you like complete garbage and you go chasing them and allow them back into your life, they are going to ramp it up just to see how much they can get away with. How badly can I treat this person? How much can I disrespect and just effectively, without saying it to their face, or maybe even saying it to their face, that they are such a piece of crap, will they still chase after me? It's sick, but that's what's going on. So I'm going to pivot this to people who are in your support group. And I'm talking about people who are genuinely focused on your best interest. They want the best for you. They hate seeing you in this mode. They want you to let go. They want you to move on, but you can't. First thing I just want to say is when you tell, because more than likely you're telling people this, when you're telling them everything that happened, they are seeing it clearly like, holy crap, you are lucky that you got away from this person. That person was horrible. You put up with that? So in their mind and their context, they don't understand the trauma bond. They don't understand what you're going through and how you're connected with what I was talking about before. They just see that you're talking about how abusive this person is, and it's like, well, how can you allow yourself to be treated like that? You know, you're lucky that you got out. All of those comments are true. The problem is whenever it's not within the context or within context, it doesn't make sense. Without context, I can say you just need to move on, you need to let it go. You need to enjoy your life. But that's a hollow comment if it doesn't come with some understanding of what you're going through. So for the people who are watching this, who are trying to understand their loved one, their friend, somebody that they care about going through this, realize that they were sucked in and manipulated early on in that whole relationship. They were initially given something that they severely lacked from all the previous relationships. They were pulled in. It was basically a con job. As a result of that, when the abuse started, they still wanted to see what was happening before. So they didn't see the abuse. Maybe you did see the abuse. Maybe you did see the abuse. Maybe you saw it pivot. Maybe you saw that other relationship treating in a really bad way. So it's easier for you to see it. Here's the way I think that you can help them. One, listen to them, and it's tough because they're going to be telling you the same story over and over again. The second part of it is remind them whenever they are forgetting that past abuse that they told you. This is something that I try to get people to do in the technique Absolute Thinking. I'll put a video in the card above that talks about that, to where you're reminding yourself of what reality is. So when you're having those longing moments or feelings or experiences, you can put it in context and say, well, you know, there was manipulation and abuse. When they were nice, it wasn't really legitimately being nice. It was to accomplish their goal. That's basically what you need to do. You know, when they say, oh, they loved me, you can say, well, Bill, you know, you remember these incidences you told me? How you didn't feel loved and how you were rejected and how you were devalued, or how it was rubbed in your face that they wanted to see someone else, or you weren't good enough, or whatever the case may be. When you're going through this, or when your friend is going through this, they don't understand it. They don't understand. Let me back up. It's not that they don't understand. It's like they can't process that. They're still fixated on that initial illusion of what the relationship is, and they need a reminder. I've had to do this a lot with people where I've known them throughout the relationship, where things looked bad at the beginning. And then later, whenever they're like, oh, I messed it up, I did this and that, you know, I said I loved him too soon, you know, I was pushing too hard. I'm like, no, you didn't. They were asking you early on what you thought about, you know, that they, you know, do you love me? They were pushing and prying for the thing. You were manipulated to it. I often see people who start these type of relationships with decent boundaries and want to slow things down, and the person is doing this push and pull thing to pull them in. That's basically what happens. So then what happens is you get down the road 8 months or 2 decades, whatever the case may be, the facade falls apart, and now the person is stuck trying to reconcile what the hell just happened to them. So hopefully, for the friend watching this, who's trying to support someone through this, just remember that. Remember that they're not going to be able to just let it go. They're not. It doesn't work that way. They might even be able to rationalize with you how bad the relationship is and how they should be able to let it go. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time and a lot of work. And it's going to be frustrating for the people around them to deal with that constant rumination about the past, replaying it over and over and over again. Doesn't last forever. Does last a long time. Hopefully, if you're trying to help the person when they do that, you can remind them and say, hey, you know, hold on a second. You know, we talked about that before, and you had said X, Y, Z. Remember when we had that conversation before, and you were like, oh yeah, that was really, you know, they were being really manipulative, you know, that type of thing. Try to approach it that way. That'll probably help them more, as opposed to just saying, man, you just need to let it go. It's true. They do. We do. I needed to. It took me a couple of years to be able to do that. Actually, it took more like 3. I had to spend a lot of work into it, a lot of therapy, some hypnosis, files, a lot of work. But they can get over it. They can get their life back. So on that, if you're watching this and this resonates with you and you think someone else could benefit from this message, please consider sharing this video with them. If you like this channel and you think this information could be helpful for you, consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification so that YouTube will actually tell you about a video. And I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.